This is Community Close-Up with Jay Dow.
Pero claro que ven las noticias.
When they see the news and hear the word deportation, they know that we are not at peace and that we are not safe.
How mixed status migrant families are reacting to the looming threat of deportation, especially those with little ones born here in the U.S. And it's often a parent's nemesis and their savior. Listen up, caregivers. We're taking a crystal clear look at the habit of allowing screen time for our toddlers. Is it good or bad? Also ahead, an emotional Holiday Lights reunion on Staten Island for a pediatric cancer patient. A moving message for brighter days ahead. Welcome back to another edition of Pix 11 Community Close-Up. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Jay Dow. It's a hot topic for parents everywhere. When is it appropriate to whip out that phone or tablet for the little ones, and how often? For so many families, the honest answer is sometimes it's the best and only option. Our Vanessa Freeman, a young mom herself, recently logged some FaceTime in Bergen County, New Jersey, with another growing family for an honest conversation about screen time.
Weekends are tough because there's less activities going on, there's no school.
It's a plight that most parents know all too well, having screen time double as an activity during downtime, but then as a reward for not using the smart devices, you give them more screen time. For Emma, a Bergen County, New Jersey mom of a toddler and a 9-year-old, it's a slippery slope.
So having excessive screen time became much more irritable, more possessive, and wanting more of it.
Mood dysregulation.
Dr. Elisa Bruckner, a family therapist, is used to seeing this screen time addiction cycle of good behavior, offering screen time as a reward.
Gavin, hand it over.
I need to save.
And then the device withdrawal outburst.
So the recommendation is that children between the ages of 2 and 5 don't have any more than 1 hour of screen time a day.
For toddlers and younger children, this can interfere with their ability to bond with their family members. Emma went from unregulated screen time to about 20 minutes a day. She's seen a drastic improvement in both of her kids.
She's definitely much more compliant. Nap time. Do you want a sandwich? She's also paying attention to me.
The change has also been a reset for her and her husband.
Spending that time together helps build our bond, and we become stronger altogether.
For Community Close-Up, I'm Vanessa Freeman.
A huge thanks to our Vanessa Freeman for taking the time to put together that great piece. Let's bring in pediatric psychiatrist Dr. Jody Gold. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
Dr. Gold, full transparency here. I'm the parent, my wife and I, of a 2-year-old boy and a 6-month-old boy, and this is so personal. We have this discussion all of the time. There are so many different types of screen time. There's the educational videos. There are the Elmo videos. Should we be classifying all screen time the same way?
No, we should not. All screen time is not created equal. There's definitely better and lesser types of screen time. I think the truth is, for under 2 years of age, there's no screen time that's going to make your child more connected, healthier, or smarter. I think for kids that are a little between 2 and 5, there becomes screen time that's really not helpful, and screen time that can sometimes be educational or collaborative.
Clinically speaking, what's happening to a toddler's mind when they're exposed to too much of the bad screen time?
Well, basically, what's happening is we're taking the good interaction with people and putting you on a screen. So a lot of it is about the lack of actual interpersonal interaction and less about exactly what's going on in the screen time. So when you're under 5 years old, part of developmental growth and emotional growth is actually interacting with people, making eye contact. We call it reciprocity, where you're talking to me, I'm talking to you, we're making eye contact, I'm seeing your reaction to things. If I'm on a screen, I can't learn how to interact with you.
Should we be breaking that up?
Yes, it's okay to be on screen time for a little, but I think one of the problems with talking about screen time is we make all parents feel really guilty. We've been using devices or TVs or something to babysit our kids for a long time. I think we just need to be transparent about it. If you need to use screen time to babysit your child for a little bit, that's fine. It's all about moderation, and it's also about being honest with yourself, like being
I mean, guilty as charged.
No.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not alone
No.
in thinking that, you know, sometimes when you're at the restaurant,
Yeah.
you're on a plane, you're on a train. I mean, sometimes that Elmo video is the only thing that keeps our little boy from melting down. So you're telling us we should not be feeling guilty about that.
You should not be. What you have to do is be honest with yourself, and it is about moderation. If you put the Elmo video on and 2 hours later you come back, that's a problem. If you put the Elmo video on for 15 minutes while you're trying to get somewhere or do some work emails, it is what it is. It's babysitting. You take it away. The other thing about it is if you're going to have your child on screen time for more than 15 or 20 minutes, you want to be collaborative with them. There is a way. What all the research shows us is that you get the best effect of screen time when you co-engage or collaborate. So if you're on the game or on the Elmo with your child and you're talking, why did Elmo say this? What do you think of this? What do you think Elmo's feeling? All of a sudden it becomes a bit more collaborative.
But honestly, sometimes that's just not possible.
Yes,
I mean,
it's true.
you know, you're cooking a meal,
Yep.
you're doing laundry. Sometimes you're using the video or the tablet as a babysitter.
Yep.
And that's acceptable?
It's acceptable in moderation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's all
Everything
about
in moderation.
everything in moderation.
Right.
It's acceptable because it's the reality of working and cooking and raising your kids. We all have these busy lives, and it's okay to let your children be in front of the devices for a short period of time. But you need to be honest with the fact that you're doing it. You need to be. I recommend setting a timer for yourself, like saying, "All right, I'm going to cook for 15 minutes, and I'm going to let my child watch a device or watch Sesame Street for 15 minutes." That's fine.
Right.
When the timer goes off, though, in 15 minutes, you've got to
You have to be disciplined.
You have to be disciplined. You either have to sit down and watch the show with your child and engage, or if that's not possible, then it is time to take them off the devices and to engage them in something in real life.
Okay, so without endorsing any kind of brand or, you know, a person that's out there, can you talk to us about what types of screen time you would recommend that you think are better than others?
Okay, so for young kids, most of the apps on the App Store for young kids are educational. So first of all, there's no apps before the age of 2 that are really educational. For 2-year-olds, it's really about the interaction. Once you get into toddlerhood, between 2 and 5, there are educational apps. So anything that's educational, I'm fine with in moderation, and anything, honestly, that you'll engage with. So if there's a game that you like and you'll actually play it, I would say go for it. I mean, assuming it's, you know, age appropriate. I'm not talking about like grown-up games, but within the age appropriate range, if there's something you find entertaining. I mean, the truth is Sesame Street was invented in the 70s so that parents would watch TV with their kids.
Right.
The idea was to make it a little bit enjoyable so that parents would co-engage with their children.
Elmo is timeless.
Yes. And parents like it, so you sit there, you talk to them.
Right.
It's all about talking and interacting, and any type of certainly any type of social media, anything that's not age appropriate, anything that's violent, anything that you just drop them in front of and leave them is not healthy. As long as you're engaged and you're honest with yourself, it's okay to let it help you as a babysitter.
Dr. Gold, I took so many mental notes. Thank you thank you so much for giving us all of this great information. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, how the presidential election and new threats of mass deportations changes the calculus for migrant families all across our region, especially those with mixed immigration status. That's coming up right after the break.
You're watching Community Close-Up with Jay Dow.
Welcome back to Pix 11 Community Close-Up. I'm Jay Dow. Over the last 2 years, we've seen 250,000 migrants arrive in our region. During that time, many migrant families have had children who are U.S. citizens. What does their status mean for migrant parents, especially in the face of growing threats of mass deportations? I recently spent some time with a young migrant mother and her 3 young children to find out.
That's Anna, her husband, and their 2 young children, engaged in a different kind of train surfing on top of a locomotive in 2023, headed north from their native Ecuador in pursuit of their own American dream. Fast forward a year, and Anna, we're using an alias at her request for privacy reasons, is living at the Stewart Hotel Migrant Shelter across the street from Madison Square Garden in Midtown Manhattan. her youngest son. Conceived and born here in the United States, he's the only member of this young family with U.S. citizenship. This pursuit of the American dream, not so different in spirit from the many versions of mass immigration America has witnessed through the decades. In fact, in 1907 alone, a single year, the United States welcomed and processed 1.2 million Irish, Italian, and other European immigrants at Ellis Island. Through the generations, across presidential administrations, changing immigration policy, and away from the heated rhetoric of the day, there is one constant: the desire to simply live better.
El pensar que otra vez nos van
The journey to come here was long, and we went through a lot.
But Anna's life in this political climate is dangerously different, and she tells us she lives in constant fear of the incoming administration's promise of mass deportations.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
Deportations which threaten to tear apart her mixed status family.
no tienen.
With the little one, I don't know if I'm going to have a say to take him with me or if he will have to stay behind.
Does that scare you?
Sí.
The more likely scenario, her entire family being sent back to Ecuador and the dangerous conditions they fled in the first place.
Yo me encontraba.
In the situation I was in, I had no other option. I had to leave.
This report aimed simply at exploring how one migrant mother, who is brave enough to speak out, is mentally and emotionally processing lofty policy decisions and what's expected to be a strict interpretation of existing immigration laws out of Washington.
You have to do things lawfully.
New York City Councilman Bob Holden says migrant criminals should absolutely be removed without delay. As for Anna's situation,
They're trying to make a better life for themselves. I understand that. I get it. But there are a lot of people that want to be citizens of the United States that waited in line and hired attorneys and have to wait several years.
Anna says she's no criminal, but still worries about what might happen to her family, including her U.S.-born son, next year under the next administration.
No tengo aquí.
I don't have a friend or relative here or anyone here who I can leave my child with.
These days, Anna is doubly worried for herself and her husband, who is currently working in construction in Alabama to help support the family.
Preguntar su estatus migratorio.
He's worked hard. We miss him a lot. But I'm also worried that when he's down there, he could get detained and asked for his legal status and get deported.
Anna's life, no different from any other parent raising young kids without a support system, except she's doing it while also trying to hide in plain sight. Her children, keenly aware of their situation.
Pero claro que ven las noticias.
When they see the news and hear the word deportation, they know that we are not at peace and that we are not safe.
Blending in, staying under the radar to avoid acts of discrimination, or catching the attention of federal immigration agents, all part of their life now.
Do you feel welcome in this country?
Y hay días de
There are some days when we travel on the train and I tell my kids don't talk because I speak Spanish and not English. There will be an aggression against me.
According to recent U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement statistics, between October 2023 and June of this year, the New York City and Newark, New Jersey ICE field offices conducted a total of 475 removals. 74% of them were for other non-criminal violations.
When they come into the communities, what are the tactics and strategies that they're going to use?
Janice Northia manages community engagement for the New York Immigration Coalition. She says NYIC routinely holds Know Your Rights workshops about judicial warrants and what agents can and cannot lawfully do in the field.
Everyone has the right to be able to live in their home without the fear of someone just coming in.
Anna chose to close our conversation with a word of thanks.
pedir disculpas por.
We're very
haber venido a un
grateful for
país
everything
que
that you are doing, and I just want to ask for forgiveness for coming to your country.
Why do you feel like you need to ask for forgiveness?
Porque nos ven así.
Because they see us as people that want to take like an invasion. And there are Latino immigrants who have done harm. And because of that, they generalize all of us.
I mean, what is the life that you want here in the United States for you and your children?
Una vida tranquila.
I want a peaceful life for my children, a college education that I never accomplished, and the future that I never had.
Coming up after the break, from the streets to the courtroom, what migrant legal advocates are telling their clients about the growing threat of mass deportations. Stay with us. Joining us now is Shani Ades, Vice President of the New York Legal Assistance Group, which has been providing some valuable advice to migrants. Shani, thanks for joining us. I'm guessing that your clients are asking a lot of questions these days.
Thanks for having us. Yes, we have people who are calling us who have worked with for a long time, folks whose cases are pending, folks whose cases are closed, and folks who haven't yet filed applications or perhaps filed something without an attorney, all calling right now. Really fearful because of the divisive and distressing rhetoric that's out there.
Councilman Holden mentioned immigrants that have been waiting years in line for citizenship. What's the average timeline for your clients, the migrants who have come in within the last couple of years?
It really depends. The thing about immigration is that there's so many different pathways for folks and their families in which they can achieve status, whether it's temporary, permanency, or eventually citizenship. Citizenship is actually that last step in the process. And so it really depends what form of relief folks are having. One of the most important things that we can do that we really focus on at NYLAG is making sure that folks who are coming to us are getting full, robust screenings, that they aren't just being screened, for example, for one form of relief, but every possible avenue that's out there. Different avenues might take 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It really depends.
There are many legal strategies. I know that making sure that people are getting their mail is one of them.
Yes.
If you're not keeping up with your case via the mail, how does that impact your case?
Well, the mail is really how immigration cases move forward. So after you file any application that you're filing, you're going to be getting notices in the mail, whether that's for fingerprints that you need to be taken to move your case forward, whether it's a deadline to provide additional documents, to show up for an interview or a court date. If you miss that document for the vast majority of cases, that means that you're going to have that case denied and be ordered removed, which means you're going to be said that you have to leave the country. Something that's been impacting immigrants in New York recently, especially those who are in our shelters, is that folks who are subject to that 30-60-day rule, they're experiencing that their home address isn't stable. What does that mean? If they've filed applications, they've come forward, they're trying to do everything right, they miss that notice, and then all of a sudden they have a removal order against them that they may not even know of.
Right. Shani Ades of the New York Legal Assistance Group, thank you so much for all of that great information. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Coming up, our latest installment of Our Community, Your Voice. We're on Staten Island for an emotional Holiday Lights-inspired reunion. That's after the break. Out on Staten Island, there's an incredibly popular home where the owner puts on one heck of a holiday lights display. The attraction also serves as a fundraiser in honor of his late wife, with the proceeds benefiting a local hospital's pediatric cancer care unit. This year, the owner, Joe DiMartino, is welcoming a teenager who saw the lights years ago with her family. This year's return visit, though, as a cancer patient, is especially meaningful.
17-year-old Elle Paradiso has seen all of this before.
I've been going here since I was little.
Staten Island resident Joe DiMartino's famous Christmas display, which doubles as a fundraiser for pediatric cancer patients.
Merry Christmas!
Elle is no longer just an ordinary visitor following her shock diagnosis with leukemia. She's seeing all of this through a different lens, lined with both affection and appreciation.
I was aware that they donated, I just didn't know exactly where.
Joe DiMartino is the mastermind behind this attraction. He says Elle is now another kind of VIP, a very important pediatric cancer patient.
They come up to me, of course they get the golden pass and they come straight in.
Elle's parents simply grateful their daughter, whose birthday falls on Christmas Day, will be here to celebrate another one.
I'm grateful that we were able to be home.
At the top of the driveway, a red donation box hints at the original conception for this gargantuan effort, a testament to Joe's late wife, who was killed in one of the towers during the World Trade Center attacks.
This is my way of saying thank you and paying back to the neighborhood.
Last year, this DiMartino holiday extravaganza raised more than $70,000 in a single month for the Staten Island University Pediatric Cancer Care Unit, and on this night, Joe got to meet a beneficiary of his community's goodwill. After all of those visits pre-cancer, this was Joe and Elle's first time meeting face to face.
It's emotional. It touches my heart.
This is Joe's 22nd year leading a months-long transformation of his home into an attraction so popular, it now boasts musical performances, a food truck, and new displays every year. But he says being able to aid pediatric cancer patients in the fight of their life makes it all worth it.
Because there's a lot of people this time of year, they're having hardships.
Elle is determined to win that fight.
You know, it's just something that you live with. I'm done with treatment in May on Memorial Day, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire Community Close-Up team, I want to thank you, our viewers, for the great response to our show, and thank you now for sticking around with us once again. Our goal is simple: compelling reporting and storytelling about issues and topics that you care about, regardless of where you live. If you have something to share, email us at communitycloseup@pix11.com. I'm your host, Jay Dow. See you next time on Pix 11 Community Close-Up.